Okay, picture this. These incredible emerald plains just stretching out forever, sheep everywhere, and this huge snow-capped mountain, Mount Egmont, watching over it all. It looks so serene, doesn't it?
It really does, like a perfect postcard.
Exactly. But then you dive into Colleen McCullough's The Thorn Birds, and you realize this beautiful place is, well, it's the backdrop for some really intense human stories, some huge emotional turning points.
Mm-hmm. That contrast is so powerful.
So today we're going to unpack some of those powerful currents that run through this epic story. And just a note, if you want to reflect more on these kinds of themes, our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments, uses AI analysis to explore a book like this, really aiming to spark some critical thinking.
That sounds interesting. And, starting right at the beginning, the Armstrong family's arrival in New Zealand. It's not straightforward. The book links their origins back to the American War of Independence, which is fascinating.
Right, because Britain used to send convicts to the American colonies.
Exactly. For often quite minor things, petty theft, stuff like that, things that today seem, well, hardly crime enough for transportation, stealing something worth just over a shilling could get you sent away for life.
Wow, and the war stopped that flow.
It completely disrupted the system. So new places were needed. It really puts the Armstrongs' beginnings into a different perspective, this sense of displacement.
Yeah, definitely. And you feel that rawness in their family life almost immediately. I mean, that scene where young Meggie gets punished, her head scrubbed raw, it's brutal.
It is. And her shame, her hiding away,
Mm.
it's portrayed so vividly.
And then Paddy, her father, comes back from Wahine and sees her shorn hair. His reaction, it's all internal, but you feel it so strongly.
You do. It's this silent grief or shock. But then Fee, her mother, she just cuts right through it, doesn't she?
Yeah, with that practical question, what happened in Wahine? You were gone an awful long time. It's such a contrast.
It really highlights the different ways they all cope, the different priorities. And Fee's practicality extends to discipline, too.
Oh, forcing Meggie to go to school the next day, even after that.
Despite Maggie's humiliation.
Yeah.
Yes. Her pleas just fall on deaf ears.
Mm.
And then she faces the other kids.
Who are cruel, of course.
Naturally. And Sister Agatha offers no comfort, just indifference. It's a really tough look at childhood vulnerability and, well, adult decisions.
The book also digs into that father-son dynamic, particularly with Frank Cleary. He's built up as this strong guy, a known fighter across the Taranaki Peninsula.
The real physical presence.
But then there's this incident, we don't know exactly what, and Paddy just shuts down towards him. Cold fury, then silence.
And Frank's shame is palpable. He feels so isolated.
Yeah, and Meggie trying to comfort him secretly in the hay barn. It's such a small, tender moment amidst all that tension.
It really is. And speaking of strong characters, we have to talk about Mary Carson.
Oh, absolutely. Formidable is the word.
Definitely. A wealthy widow chooses power over remarrying after losing her child. She's fiercely independent.
And incredibly sharp. Her observations about people, like Father Ralph coming to Drogheda, she sees right through things.
She does. She understands motivations, ambition. She knows what makes people tick, especially someone like Father Ralph.
Which brings us to the family's big move, leaving New Zealand.
Yeah, another huge upheaval. The book shows the practical side, selling furniture, deciding what few things they can actually afford to take.
And Paddy being so insistent on catching that specific train, even though Fee seems unwell, there's this sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm. Like they have to go, right though.
So they arrive at Drogheda in Australia. And Maggie's first impression.
It's a letdown, isn't it? After what the priest had described.
Yeah, the reality of where they'll actually be living down by the creek is quite different from the picture painted for her. A little hint of reality versus ideals, maybe.
I think so. And then you have the dynamic between Father Ralph and Mary Carson playing out right away.
Even their casual chat seems loaded, her asking about his needs, his ambitions.
And that line, Ralph, Cardinal de Bricassart.
Right.
He just calls it, she sees his path, maybe even before he fully admits it to himself.
She's got his number, basically.
Completely. Which complicates things further, especially with Frank. Remember that public confrontation?
Between Frank and Father Ralph. Yes, very tense. And Maggie's so worried for Frank.
Ralph steps in, seems helpful, but then Frank leaves soon after.
And Meggie just quietly understands he's gone. The priest offers some comfort, but it feels ambiguous.
It does. There's so much unsaid between Ralph and Meggie already.
The book also does a great job painting the bigger picture, the Australian Outback setting. The traveling stock routes, the TSRs.
Yeah, it grounds the story in that specific history. The relationship between the landowners, the squatters, and the drovers moving stock.
Which had apparently been quite tense historically.
It could be, yes. Clashes over land and water access. But by the time the Clearys get to Drogheda, things seem a bit more settled, more amicable usually.
And you get these descriptions of the drovers, their families. It's a whole different way of life.
Absolutely. Defined by the land, by movement.
But life on Drogheda isn't all hardship. There are moments of connection, like the Woolshed Ball.
Oh, that's a lovely scene. Patty and Fee actually relaxing, enjoying themselves, which seems rare for them.
You really feel their closeness that night. And Father Ralph is watching them.
Mm-hmm. Reflecting on parenthood, on their bond. It was quite poignant.
But Ralph himself isn't exactly relaxed, is he? He's got this internal conflict brewing.
Big time. After the party, the book shows him really tormented. He wants freedom, but his calling holds him back. And he's dreading Mary Carson's death, what her will might mean.
He's trapped between his vows and his desires.
Exactly. And you see that conflict surface after Mary dies. His whole demeanor changes.
He seems distant.
Very distant during Mass. There's this tension around his departure and that quick, loaded exchange with Miss Carmichael. It's clear Mary's will has changed everything for him and for the Clearys.
And then another blow hits the family news of Frank's death.
Yeah. And the letter is dated 3 years earlier. Just devastating.
Fee's shock, Patty's grief. It's heartbreaking. And the delay in news just highlights how isolated they could be.
Absolutely. The tyranny of distance, as they say.
So after Mary's death and the inheritance, the Clearys move into the big house. Things shift again.
They do. Meggie takes on more responsibility, running things, but she also notices her mother becoming more detached from the younger kids.
While Fee herself seems to find a new lease on life, almost. Managing the big house, learning to drive the Rolls-Royce.
Which is quite the image. It's a real status symbol, showing how much their circumstances have changed. But Fee seems to genuinely enjoy the management side of it.
Meanwhile, Meggie, she gets to work as a stockman, which she loves.
Yet does find real satisfaction in that work, something she's always wanted. But that longing for Father Ralph, it's still there, always underneath.
That unresolved connection.
Mm-hmm. Lingering. And the book keeps grounding us in the place, too, with those descriptions of Meggie riding around Drogheda.
Yeah, the landscape is almost another character. The specific plants, the animals.
Yeah.
You feel the outback.
Definitely. And then Father Ralph's own world continues to turn. We meet Archbishop Vittorio Scarbanza di Contini Vercese.
Right. His visit hints that Ralph's career, his situation within the church, is complex and being watched.
Yes, there are layers to his ambition and how the church views him.
Then nature throws another massive challenge, the drought of 1932.
A really severe one. It hits Drogheda hard, but again, you see the Cleary's resilience.
And Patty finds a moment of humor even then with those newspaper accusations about grazier cruelty.
Yeah, about his wool practices. It's a little flash of his personality amidst the hardship.
But the hardship escalates dramatically with the bushfire.
Oh, that's terrifyingly depicted. The sheer scale of it, the loss of land, sheep, the destruction of the gardens they'd worked on.
But the community pulling together afterwards to restore the gardens, that's powerful too.
It really shows their connection to the place and to each other, that shared effort.
And into this recovering landscape steps a new figure, Luke O'Neill.
The new stockman. And there's a bit of suspicion around him initially, isn't there?
Yeah, because he's a top-class shearer taking a stockman's job. Seems a bit odd.
It does raise questions about his motives.
And he quickly becomes central to Meggie's story. They marry.
And that honeymoon train journey to North Queensland? It's immediately uncomfortable.
Cramped, awkward, and you start to see Luke's insensitivity right away. Meggie's unease is palpable.
It really sets the tone for their relationship, unfortunately. Then they arrive in Dunglow.
Which sounds lush, overgrown, but completely different from Drogheda.
Exactly. And Meggie feels instantly homesick, isolated.
And Luke doesn't help. The book shows him being quite possessive, quite clueless about her feelings, even on their first morning married.
Calling her Meg, insisting on things his way. It's all about him, his needs, his expectations.
She's got this big plan, right? Making money, owning the best station out west.
Pure ambition, which is completely at odds with what Meggie actually wants or needs. Her unhappiness just grows.
So she ends up at Himmelhoch, working for Ann Mueller, still isolated.
Very much so. Even surrounded by the beauty of the cane fields and mountains, she just longs for Drogheda.
Meanwhile, back in the world of church politics, Ralph is rising. Archbishop di Contini-Vercesi relies on him.
Yes, Ralph, now Bishop de Bricassart, is clearly highly regarded, very skilled diplomatically. His star is ascending.
But personal lives get complicated again. Luke gets sick,
Vile's disease. And Meggie finds out she's pregnant.
which leads to the birth of her daughter, Justine, with Anne and the local doctor helping out.
A difficult time for her. And then, a huge moment. Father Ralph shows up at Himmelhoch.
Unexpectedly. To see Meggie.
Yes. And that conversation he has with Anne, it's incredibly revealing. He talks about his love for Meggie, the tragedy of their situation. Anne sees it all.
Which leads to that confrontation between Meggie and Ralph. It's so raw.
Decades of pent-up feelings just pour out. Her love, her disillusionment with Luke, her desperate need to feel truly wanted. It's powerful stuff.
And Luke's reaction to his own daughter, Justine.
Pretty superficial. Barely interested. Which just fuels Meggie's resentment further.
And Anne is protective of Meggie and the baby.
Very. And deeply cynical about men, based on her own experiences and what she sees with Luke.
Ralph, meanwhile, is justifying himself to the Archbishop back in Rome.
Trying to. He confesses his internal conflict over Meggie, attempts to rationalize his choices. You see the cost of his ambition on his own soul.
Then the world changes. World War II breaks out. The Cleary twins get involved.
Sent to North Africa. The family back home is anxiously following the news, tracking the campaigns. It brings the global conflict right to Droyetta's doorstep.
And we meet Dane, Meggie's son. He forms a close bond with Justine.
Very close. And Meggie feels a little replaced, pushed to the side in her children's affections.
Plus, Drogheda faces another drought during the war years. More hardship.
It seems relentless sometimes, doesn't it? The land is both beautiful and brutal.
We get glimpses of the twins, Jims and Patsy in the war, their different perspectives.
And that moment of aerial support from the RAF brings the reality of the fighting close.
And Ralph, now an archbishop in Rome during the war, shows his compassionate side.
Yes, with Monsieur Papet's plea, and especially with that orphan boy, Rainer Schmidt.
Who takes the name Dane. Ralph forms a real bond with him.
A kindness that echoes perhaps his feelings for Meggie's son, who he doesn't yet know is his.
Towards the war's end, Jims and Patsy are in New Guinea.
The war touches so many parts of their lives, spreads them across the globe.
Then the focus shifts a bit more to the next generation, particularly Justine. She's quite a character.
Oh, definitely. Smart, witty, sometimes quite cutting with her remarks, but not materialistic at all.
Complex. And her experience at boarding school is very different from Dane's.
Completely. Dane is homesick for Drogheda, while Justine thrives in Sydney, embraces the city.
After years away, Archbishop Ralph finally comes back to Drogheda.
A big moment. The reunion with Meggie, meeting her children properly. It's warm, but loaded with unspoken history.
And he notices Dane's laugh.
The small detail, but significant. A hint of recognition.
Life settles into a new rhythm. Meggie starts taking over the Drogheda books from Fee.
A quiet passing of the torch, almost. Fee relying more on her daughter.
And Meggie has that conversation with Justine about her future. Justine doesn't want a life of leisure.
No, she wants a career. Acting. In Sydney, she's determined to make her own way.
And Fee, surprisingly, supports her.
Yes, which maybe surprises Meggie a little. Shows Fee's own evolution, perhaps.
Then there's Dane's decision, the priesthood. His ordination is approaching.
And his bond with Justine remains incredibly strong. They're each other's confidants.
The book shows his deep faith. Those moments of quiet contemplation in St. Mary's Cathedral.
You feel the sincerity of his calling. It's not about ambition like Ralph's. It seems rooted in genuine belief.
But then comes Anne's warning to Meggie. That cryptic line about the jealousy of the gods when Dane announces his decision.
Chilling foreshadowing. Meggie is devastated, consumed by despair.
But Justine reacts differently.
More measured. She understands Dane's calling, connects it to the beauty and ritual of Catholicism that he loves. She sees the depth of his commitment, even if it means losing him in a way.
Wow. The Thorn Birds really does weave such an intricate story, doesn't it? All these complex relationships, these huge life choices.
Absolutely. The themes of love, loss, ambition, faith, they run so deep throughout the entire narrative. It stays with you.
It really does. And if you want to delve even deeper into these ideas, remember our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments. The AI-powered analysis there can offer some really fresh perspectives and get you thinking critically.
It's a great way to continue exploring. And we hope you'll subscribe to our podcasts for more discussions like this one.
Please do, and share this conversation if you enjoyed it. If you haven't read The Thorn Birds or want to revisit it, check out the purchase link in our description. It's truly an epic story.
Definitely worth experiencing.
So we'll leave you with a thought. Think about those hidden forces, the ones beneath the surface that shape our lives, the unexpected turns we take, even when everything around us looks perfectly calm and serene.